Good evening. I'd like to call the City of Mount Vernon City Council meeting for May 26, 2021 to order. The time is now 7:01. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Item C is our roll call. Council members, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please. Here.
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 Here. Present.
Thank you. Under consent agenda, there's 3 items, A, B, and C. It's council meeting minutes, payroll checks, claims, and direct deposits.
I move for approval of our consent agenda items.
Second.
Thank you. A motion by Mary and a second by Melissa. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you so much. Under reports tonight, we have one committee report. That's our Finance and Parks and Enrichment Services Committee. Councilmember Mary Hudson.
Right. Thank you, Mayor. We met tonight in this room at 6 o'clock. We started off with approval of meeting minutes from both March 24th and March 28th. We had a pretty robust discussion about our committee agenda request process. So we've kind of made a few changes or discussion items, so we're moving forward with that. Our first director, Doug Gillespie, gave us an update for Finance Department. The 2020 audit will be starting on June 2nd, which is just our favorite thing. So it's all virtual, which is plus and minus. We did get an update on the ARPA local fiscal recovery funds from the federal government. Our allocation is $9,053,048. That's a big number, and we've already received half of, so it's $4,526,524 has already come to us, and the second half will come to us exactly 1 year from that same date. The guidance is now out. It's 100 and some odd pages, I believe Doug said, and he's reviewing the guidance and we're developing a spending plan for the funds. We talked a lot about a new budgeting or a software program for the finance department for the city, basically. It's called OpenGov, and it's something that we're interested in purchasing for budgeting and reporting. It will streamline a lot of our systems, increase transparency to both the public and to us. We will be able to dig in a little bit farther into items that are of interest to us. So it's a robust software program and has modules that we can add, start small and add on as we grow and decide how we want to move forward. Doug also gave us a revenue update on a few of the city's main revenue resources collected through May. Sales tax, we are at 40% of the budgeted annual amount. We hit a record in May. The sales tax is over $800,000, and the city's never reached that milestone before. So that's pretty exciting, and it shows that our economy is still moving right along. Our traffic benefit district has about 51% of the budgeted annual amount in, and real estate excise taxes at about 61%. So those are really good signs, and we should all be really excited about those numbers. The next committee portion was Jennifer Berner, our Director of Parks and Enrichment. She talked a little bit about the fact the Planning Commission the Arts Commission is discussing designing a city flag or perhaps making it a banner so that we can hang it from the posts downtown. There's a lot of discussion going on about that. How do we want to do it? Do we want to have call to artists? Do we want to have community engagement? So that's in the discussion phase at this point. Also exciting to know is the Parks Department is working with the GIS staff to develop a digitized map of our parks and trails, which will be really exciting for everybody to be able to go on the website and check that out. This is really great news. There's a lot of return of our recreation programming. So of the 14 sports camps that are offered, currently 7 are at capacity with a total of 210 children enrolled. And they're adding another 3 camps, so that's pretty exciting. The soccer league has 145 children enrolled with a maximum of 192. So if you want your littles in that soccer program, now's the time to sign up. Also gave us a staffing update. We have 2 new park maintenance workers starting June 1st. And there's a couple of community volunteer work parties coming up that you can also check out on our website under the Parks Department. Our meeting ran a little long, so we weren't able to get into our next portion, which is development services. They will come back after our council meeting, and we will finish our committee meeting at that point. We adjourned at 6:55.
All right, thank you, Mary. Next up is item B, which is our community comments, and as we're still kind of hybrid in our community comments, as listed in our agenda, there's an opportunity to email the city council for your comment to be read aloud. So before we see if there's anyone here in person, I'm going to introduce Peter Donovan to see if there's any emailed public comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. You had just one comment, public comment in the last 2 weeks, sent to council@mountvernon.gov. That was from Bill McCord. Bill writes, in March 2021, Preferred Properties LLC, doing business as Mount Vernon Holdings, owned by the Millard family, purchased the Evergreen Mobile Home Park, 2210 Old Highway 99 South Road. Immediately, the new owner confronted senior resident homeowners with new lease agreements and a $135 rent increase. The resident seniors are now faced with major changes to retirement plans, extraordinary financial pressures, and significant alterations to ongoing health care. This may be an indicator of events to come for Mount Vernon and residents. The council would be wise and responsible to pay attention. The new owner paid almost $6 million for property assessed at about $1.5 million. Tentatively, Bill McCord. That is all the comment.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone here would like to make a comment? You're welcome to step to the podium. Any community comments tonight? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move along. Item C is any council member comments. Any council member comments this evening? Go ahead, Richard.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to invite fellow city council members and members of the viewing public who might be interested to participate in a Skagit Housing Consortium. So this is a new meeting of folks who are interested in the goal of addressing the crisis of availability and affordability in residential housing stock in Skagit County. So we're doing this because Skagit County and its urban centers experience some of the lowest availability and affordability of residential units in the state. And at the same time, there's currently no regular gathering or coordinated and facilitated conversations among service providers, developers, supporters, planners, funders, regulators in the county. So we feel like it's a good time to bring people together. And really the purpose would be to develop action-oriented solutions and get more housing stock on the ground. So this will be a meeting that is happening on June, let's make sure I have the right date, June 15th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. It's being hosted by Community Action of Skagit County, Economic Development Alliance of Skagit County, and Skagit County. And anybody who's interested can contact EDASC and get reservation. And we'll be doing it by Zoom. We anticipate that these could be monthly meetings, but we'll let the group decide where they want to go and how often they want to meet and how we proceed with the structure. So again, anybody who is interested, those who might be interested include governmental housing and planning staff, non-governmental housing service providers, nonprofit and for-profit housing developers, commercial residential realtors, and economic development interests, decision makers, elected officials, and funders, of course. So just wanted to share that with the rest of the council and anybody who might be interested.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other?
It's June 15th from 1 to 2:30.
Well, I mean, what day is that?
I think it's a Tuesday.
Tuesday, okay.
Okay. All right. Any other council member comments tonight? All right. Thank you. Moving on. So Mayor's report, a couple of things. Just want to really encourage folks to continue vaccination, encourage your friends, family, and loved ones. I love seeing Councilmember Beaton's button on her shirt this evening. I can happily share I'm a proudly vaccinated person, so this is the way we open our schools, we open our businesses, we open our economy, and we take care of the vulnerable. So Skagit County Public Health is one area where you can go and get your vaccination. They have a drive-through vaccination site that's really set up very slick and organized. They're open Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can drop in or you can make an appointment. And they're also open on Thursdays and alternative times for folks who may work traditional hours, so they're open from 1 to 7. So please make sure that you check out Skagit County website if you need any more information. And then you can actually go on our Department of Health for our state to locate other places for Skagit County vaccination. So your primary care physician may do this, or pharmacies. It's really easy to go online and do that, or call the vaccination hotlines. Just want to encourage everyone to get out there and get your vaccination going. We're doing pretty well as a county this morning. In our briefing, I think we're over 50% at least initiated first vaccination, and a little bit more than 40% completely vaccinated, so that's a great thing. I also had the pleasure of presenting to our Mount Vernon Chamber of Commerce today, the annual State of the City address via Zoom, of course. And I got excited about some good news I shared with that group, so I thought I'd share a few slides today here for Mayor's report. So again, thank you to Andy Mayor and the Chamber staff and board for inviting me. One of the things we talked about was some really good news. And I'm going to give examples of downtown investment, Station Square, which is the actual name for the Alf Christensen property development, but it has a name, so now I'm going to try and refer to it that way. Our Mount Vernon Library Commons project and infrastructure improvements that are grant funded. So one of the great stories is the pop-up in downtown Mount Vernon. This is a collaboration with the Mount Vernon Downtown Association and the City of Mount Vernon. City Council approved a retail space, at a discounted rate that the Mount Vernon Downtown Association could then find business or entrepreneurs that wanted to try a pop-up business for a short amount of time. And so they've had several different businesses use this and received just recently some feedback from the Red Barn. And this is Katie Walton and Maria Pickering, who are the owners of the Red Barn. And I'm just going to read a few sentences of what they sent as a kind of a testimonial to their success. They say, my two partners and I created a shop to bring local art and products to Skagit Valley residents and Tulip Festival tourists. We represented 18 local artists for 1 month. In that time, we grossed over $16,000 in sales. That was 265 sales and 693 items. After collecting artist fees, teaching art classes, they generated $21,000 in revenue, and 100% of this money stayed local. That was in 1 month in the pop-up downtown. So just really cool stories about entrepreneurs and taking advantage of opportunities. And another piece of good news, and this is one of my favorite businesses downtown, is Phoebe Carpenter-Ells. Some of you may know her as El Sage Designs. So she feels very deeply rooted in both social and environmental responsibility. They donate some of their sales, gross sales, to organizations that work on environmental causes. She also feels very strongly to shop indie made. I hadn't really heard of that. I hear shop local, but I hadn't heard shop indie made. So she produced a Valley Made market. It is now moved to the plaza. So this is on a Sunday to not only help local entrepreneurs who create their own products, but also to spur some business opportunities on Sundays in downtown Mount Vernon. So after their first 2 markets that they've had, these are some things that Phoebe told me. She said it was a huge success, and the vendors were blown away by the excitement of our community to come support them, to be able to socialize and then buy locally made products. Vendors reported breaking holiday records, and one vendor sold more at that particular market than they ever had in the history of their small business. So it's pretty awesome. Her quote said that they felt like it's not new anymore, our Riverwalk Plaza feels grown up now, that this is a place where people come to take advantage of it. And even Ristretto, a local brick and mortar business downtown, has to staff up more on those days because of their increased business on a Sunday. So just a terrific story. So I wanted to be able to share what our community is doing with each other. The Station Square development, this is just an overlay of a 5-acre development that's in downtown Mount Vernon as you come in on the Kincaid exit off of I-5. 7-Eleven is open. It's open today. So just if you need some of those services, it's open. And then Skagit Regional Health recently made public their plans, which we, of course, have been working on with them for a little while, for a 3-story healthcare center clinic that will be located on basically the whole south portion of that area. So it'll be a large facility, it'll have ample parking, and then we'll have a couple more business paths to work on development for restaurants and a coffee shop, more than likely. And then just great news too is our infrastructure, thanks to our amazing public works staff and the ability to capitalize on good planning and grant opportunities. Our Freeway Drive infrastructure project's going to go forward to construction. That's a $2.34 million cost. So if you can tell on this little baby map here, we're talking Freeway Drive from Cameron Way all the way up to College. And it will be adding a sidewalk to the west side, bike lanes to both sides, extended 2-way turn left north on the north end, new stormwater improvements, and additional street lighting. So we're able to do that fully with grant funding. So great work to the staff and doing infrastructure projects. That's been on the books since 1997. It's pretty cool to be able to move forward on it. So thanks for allowing me to share some good things that are going on with the city. All right. Item E tonight is any committee agenda requests. We had some discussion about this in our committee meeting, but is there any committee agenda requests at this time? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on. Unfinished business, we have none, and we're moving directly into a very exciting item under new business. Item A is a professional services agreement for the Mount Vernon Library Commons project. And to introduce this item is Bill Bullock, our city engineer. Bill.
Good evening, council. So this is a professional request to execute a contract with HKP. I'll get that right someday. For the design and architectural services for the Library Commons project. But just a little under $2.5 million is their contract proposal. We have HBK team here tonight to give you a good overview of what they plan to do and what we are have been discussing for. Sorry, I'm reading the screen and finding out there's languages I don't understand on it, and so I apologize. And so then after HBK gives their presentation, if you'd like to just go into making a motion for giving the mayor permission to execute the contract, and then I believe we'll be signing that contract after that, shortly after. But it's a great team. It's going to be about a year in design, maybe a little bit less, about 9 months. And so hopefully, with everything being equal, we can start construction next year on the project. So, thank you.
All right.
And
So
Julie, more.
as our team from HKP is coming up, we're going to have Julie Blazek, which is the principal architect on here, lead us off. So welcome, Julie, and your team.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor and City Council. This is a pretty historic day, I think, for our city and for HKP Architects. Nearly 70 years ago, our founder, Henry Klein, designed the first library for Mount Vernon. And we are embracing the challenge of reimagining our library and community center and parking garage, hopefully to serve for the next 75 to 100 years and beyond. So I have to believe that Henry is smiling somewhere today. He would be very proud. I'm Julie Blazek, partner at HKP Architects, and I will be serving as partner in charge on the project. And with me today are Christine Baldwin, project architect, and Spencer Olsufka, project manager, both with HKP Architects. And our team is a collection of people who live here and work here and have a deep understanding of this city, along with experts in their fields from outside. So we kind of have the best of both worlds, and we've got the visitor's point of view with a good team that understands the local context. This team also has a very collaborative spirit, so I think this process is going to be really engaging and fun and very successful. The material we have tonight is a kind of an abbreviated version of what we presented to the selection committee based on the topics that they asked us to respond to, and we'll fill in for our team members who aren't here. But with that, I'll let Christine take it away.
Thank you, Julie. So first I want to talk a little bit about how we would approach this project. And that starts with the scoping charrette, which is really kind of a high-level opportunity for people, for really the entire team, to think about what this library commons should be and how it relates to the surrounding areas, particularly with the roadways around it, ideal locations for the community space and the library space, and really just everybody collectively coming up and kind of brain dumping everything that could matter in this project. Next, we would start with the program confirmation. We know that a lot of time and energy went into defining what the program was during the last feasibility study, but things have certainly changed since then. One, due to COVID, right? We have things changing in terms of how the library functions, pick up and drop off. And this is really an opportunity for us to get and dig in deeper into what is needed in this space so that it serves the public and the community from day one and many decades into the future. We have great experience in community engagement, and when I say that, I mean maintaining that feedback loop with the community. You can see here, and what you saw on the front was actually things translated into 2 languages beyond English. And we want to make sure that we represent our community and the diversity that we have in this community, and that we're able to disperse this information equally. Again, just a demonstration of how we link back to the community and ensure that they have the information available at their fingertips. We know that the foundation will be continuing with fundraising efforts throughout the course of this project. So we want to make sure that we're bringing the community up to speed and aware of the progress on the project to aid the foundation in those efforts.
So Barbara Swift of the Swift Company is our lead landscape architect. And her team talked a bit at the interview about kind of starting at a high-level view of this project. Not just the building and site itself, but how does it connect to all of the other things that we know and love about downtown Mount Vernon. So really thinking about the other points of connection and the existing urban fabric and how this building is going to fit in and connect to all those things. Making sure that we're providing really great connections to the transit station, to the farmers market on the waterfront, to local shops and restaurants, and making this kind of the stepping off place where people can come and go and enjoy the downtown and then also visit other local attractions. Barbara talked a lot about making small gestures that have big impact. So there's not a lot of outdoor space available on this site. It's pretty tight. But we want to look at things that we can do to really encourage engagement, places for people to hang out and make things really easy and clear, safe, and make it walkable and bikeable. She talked about these little steps. I think it's either in Brooklyn or Lower Manhattan. She's visited a couple times, and there's never an opportunity where someone's not up on those steps doing something. So again, sort of doesn't cost a lot to do little things that help to engage the pedestrians and people in and around the building. Jennifer Clapham is our lead civil engineer from KPFF, and Jennifer is really adept at dealing with sites that are complex, and while this site on its face value looks pretty simple, there's actually some complexities to it. So she will be digging in, making sure that we have a really sound civil plan. One of the things we talked about was the stormwater management, making sure that we can improve the stormwater situation that's there, which is dumping into a combined sewer and storm. If we can divert that from the sewer, that would be great. Maybe we can even incorporate it into something that is a learning tool for people to understand how important it is to treat the water that runs off where we park our cars that's so close to the river. So looking for opportunities to educate as well. Sarah Roberts is our lead structural engineer from KPFF as well. And again, it's really nice to bring KPFF back into the fold after all their work with the waterfront master plan and their understanding of the downtown. Sarah is an expert in parking garages, and so her focus will be on looking at the most efficient layout to get the optimal amount of parking spaces, while also balancing that with creating spaces that are inviting and safe. So Sarah sees parking garages not just as places to house cars, but really for a lot of people, this may be their first experience when they come to Mount Vernon. As soon as they step out of their car, they may form a first impression. So we want that impression to be really positive. So we'll be working to create a lot of daylighting, a lot of safety, color, wayfinding and orientation, so people feel good and safe being in the parking garage. When it comes to the library, for centuries, libraries were these places of sort of quiet, reflective, contemplative study, and just in the last 30 years, really since I've been practicing architecture, they've changed dramatically in the way they function and serve, and they will continue to change, we know that. So really what we are looking at is what's important to us, I should say, is the feeling that's emoted when you walk into that space. And what should be really at the highest priority is the quality of the space and the experience you're having, no matter what kind of changes are going on the floor plan as things change in the future. So that has a lot to do with volume of spaces and daylighting, making sure you have good visibility, creating spaces and transitions between quiet and more active spaces, making sure that children and teens and adults feel like they have their own autonomy, but we want to create some intentional interactions for them to share, and creating a space that really promotes healthy library going into the future, no matter what kinds of changes, making sure it's flexible and adaptable for years to come. Community spaces are very similar. They have to function for a wide variety of activities. There are some that we probably can't even imagine today that are going to happen in these spaces. So they need to have the right technology and storage and all the logistics, but really what's important is that those spaces feel good, that people want to be in there for 2 to 3 hours, maybe half a day or even longer. So we'll be looking at spaces that have daylight, have a lot of comfort, and are really interesting to be in, and feel like having the visibility from the outside is important, so people can see what's going on, they get curious about what activities are happening, and they want to come in and take part. Excuse me. But we also want to create spaces that will help us come together as a community and celebrate, maybe come and learn something new, and welcome new people to our city. In terms of the context or the contextual design of the building, I don't think anybody knows this corner or this downtown or the way the city has evolved better than this team. And a number of you know we've been working on design standards for over 15 years. So we want to be cognizant of the fact that this site has both residential and commercial neighbors. It can be, it's highly visible from I-5, so it really has no backside. And it really wants to tell the story of where Mount Vernon is going. We want to take, our firm is deeply rooted in a modern design aesthetic. You can tell from the county administration building downtown and what was Gretchen's, now the beauty school. We like to design future-forward buildings, but we take our cues from historical context. So that would be street axes, horizontal datum lines, proportions, materiality, other character defining features so that we can build really future forward buildings that feel like they fit within their context. And we're excited to create something that's new and exciting, a gateway attraction, and something that will reflect not only the past and present, but really the future of Mount Vernon.
Thanks, Julie. We also want to communicate sustainability as a priority for the project. And so when we talk about making the library commons sustainable, it's important that we look at ways to reduce our energy and water use. Excuse me. And we want to go, especially on the energy side, we want to go very aggressive with our targets there. And we also have tools to calculate and reduce the building's overall carbon footprint. And we can look at that piece in a couple different ways. On the one hand, you have the building's occupational energy use, so that's everything that's involved in keeping the lights on and heating and cooling the building. And then on the other hand, you have something we call embodied carbon, which is the energy that it takes to bring a product from its manufacturer to the site before it's installed in the building. Both of these are important to reduce, but and as we design buildings to be more efficient, that embodied carbon piece is even more important, becomes a bigger part of the overall footprint. So that is where choosing the right materials is especially important and has a huge impact. And so having team members that understand how to work with lower carbon concrete mixes, for example, will be beneficial. We also want to select healthy materials, which is of particular interest of mine, and would be particularly relevant for a library and community project such as this, where you have high levels of interaction with furnishings and interior fixtures, especially by children or the elderly or other sensitive members of the community. We also think it's important for a library to be a teaching example for sustainability. There may be elements that you can see or touch or otherwise engage in with the user. Ultimately, we want to create equitable, active spaces with lots of natural light. The project may also become an example for future sustainable development in the city. The diagram shows just how many other things a sustainability plan can encompass and how integrated into the architecture they need to be to have the most impact. Our team is very used to thinking about sustainability in this holistic way. So we also look forward to creating something that is both beautiful and responsible.
So you can see here on this diagram, this represents the team that we built specifically for this project. And as Julie noted, we built this team based off of those that have that intricate local knowledge, such as ourselves, and also the professional experts, such as Sarah and KPFF with parking garages. We've all worked with each other on a multitude of projects, which there are numbers on there. I know the diagram gets a little small with so many interactions and projects. And one of the projects that we wanted to share as an example of our team working together is the campus center up at Bellingham Technical College in Bellingham. It's located in the heart of the campus there, and it's a 3-story building that encompasses a large assembly space, library, and several other spaces, which we'll actually take a look at. And again, an example of how we thought about sustainability and education with the top right image and the importance of recycling. Like I noted, there is a library. In this particular project, it is located on the 3rd floor, and what you're seeing in the image on the left is the circulation desk, strategically located in the middle of the space to maintain visibility throughout, so that we can have that connection, the visible connection, throughout all the spaces. Another important and critical element is daylighting in this space as well, which you see through clear stories and some skylights. It did also include a computer lab space. Like we all know, that's more and more the way some libraries are going, needing to be able to provide that resource to the community. In addition to that, we also had several meeting rooms in this library as well. Actually, in the left image, the left side there with the doors and the relights, those are all different meeting spaces. Again, to provide that opportunity for local entrepreneurs to meet, or people to just meet in the libraries, maybe student population or so have you. And with every library, there's a space dedicated towards stacks. In this particular image, what you see here is it's geared towards a community college, which is what you see in the aesthetic choices here. But again, flexibility and ensuring that there's enough capacity for the library, not only from day one, but looking to the future as well. And in the top right image, it's a classroom type space, thinking to that community center and the flexibility that needs to be there to allow perhaps a classroom type assembly, and what sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? AV or things like that that are needed to support the function of that space. I also noted that this campus center includes an assembly space. So it actually includes the only assembly space on campus, the first of its kind. And it's able to accommodate a lot of people when it's all in use, but it also has the flexibility to be sectioned off into smaller assembly spaces should there need to be multiple type events going on at once. So again, it's about having that flexibility and the adaptability to serve the community's needs throughout the course of the building's life. This project also had a kitchen component, a teaching kitchen, and a cafe associated with that to support the culinary arts program for Bellingham Technical College. And knowing that the community center may or will likely include a kitchen component, we have a lot of experience in working with all sorts of kitchens, everything from a break room to a full commercial kitchen, and we also have that expertise on our team as well. Another thing that was interesting about this project that we think is really important as it relates to furnishing, sustainability, and use of spaces. For this project, we actually brought in different manufacturers of furnishings and allowed them to set up different furnishing layouts, I'll say. And it allowed the people at BTC, the students and the staff, to utilize those furnishings and to determine what they felt like was appropriate for their needs, and also the fabric that was appropriate for their needs, and also to look at it from a sustainable perspective of what was going to last the college a long time. So that was a really critical element and something that we would look to do for this project as well. To touch on the plan just for a minute here, the left side of the plan is the library with the circ desk located centrally. And then we have some restrooms in the top left and vertical circulation, and then the bottom left is actually a student lounge space. But thinking about how we can get daylight in from all different sides of this building. So again, we know that this library commons is not going to have a back side. It has 4 exposed sides. So really thinking about how to maximize each one of those on this building, not only looking in out, but looking from the outside at the building as well. Sustainability, critical piece of this project as well. In this particular photo, you see light wells driving that natural daylight into the building, PV panels, roof mounted, and then also a green roof as well. A critical element to this project was also working with a lighting expert, the Integrated Design Lab, to actually run tests and simulations on what the lighting quality would be like on the interior of this building. And that's something that we certainly look forward to doing for the Library Commons project as well. This project here is an example of a project that KPFF in Swift worked on. It may look familiar, that is the Husky Stadium right there in that main image. But this is really an example of a project that has to function on a game day when there's a lot of people there, and then on a typical day where it's people just commuting to work, or even on 10 o'clock in the morning. And that's really also how this, the parking garage aspect of this Library Commons needs to work. We need to think about the high traffic during the Tulip Festival, and we have to think about the traffic from just everyday daily use. So another example of that and how we have to think about that flexibility and design towards that, and also create something that fits within the context and is pleasing to the eyes aesthetically. Another project KPFF and Swift work on was at Washington State University's campus here. So just again, another example of projects that they've worked on in the past. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Julie.
So we were asked to address overcoming challenges with projects, and I think everybody on our team has dealt with challenges on just about every project these days. I think the easy sites are gone. So whether it's difficult soils or hidden buried treasures that you find, or supply chain issues, or budget challenges, we've even dealt with mudslides and strikes. So I think it's kind of the norm these days. But we do have a strategy for minimizing risks on projects, and that's really to try to design the risk out of the project early, rather than waiting for it to become a construction management risk that you have to work on the whole project. So we'll be working with our team all along to really be looking at how can we simplify things, how can we look at risks as we go and try to minimize them or eliminate them, and make it as successful going into the project as possible. Trish Drew from DCW is our cost manager, and she will not just be developing cost estimates at certain key milestones. She'll be with us as an integral team member from start to finish. Really, every time we're trying to make a design decision, we'll be asking Trish to run some numbers and making sure that we're making the right choices and how it impacts the overall design. And her knowledge and expertise on a myriad of projects is really valuable to this team, so we make good decisions early. She's also going to be conducting a soft cost workshop here in a couple weeks to look at, every project, the owner's carrying some soft costs that are usually sort of estimated to begin with. We want to validate all those costs and make sure that we need all of those, that we're carrying the right amount, even including some of the fees that we've proposed. And if they're not needed, that we can drive them back into the project and add value to the project. So we'll be watching those two buckets, the whole way through the project.
So as Bill mentioned, our project schedule is meant to go quickly. And for us, this really just emphasizes the importance of the front end planning so that we can set ourselves up to work very efficiently through the design phases. So one piece to that is having a geotechnical report and a survey done as soon as possible. So we have that information in hand as civil and structural are starting their designs and can tailor their approach to the site conditions. We will also plan on having a series of initial meetings, as Julie and Christina mentioned, between our team and the key members from the library and the city, including the scoping charrette and programming meetings, just to confirm what's already been outlined in the earlier concept development report. We also want to confirm budget and funding opportunities early on, and we'll be tracking both throughout every phase. We want to be transparent with our public outreach throughout the process and anticipate having a council work session at the end of every design phase to review both the design and the funding. I mentioned the importance of front-end planning and wanted to highlight that we have a Revit model ready to go, which will allow that kickoff phase to be very efficient. Already we've been able to use this model to brainstorm opportunities as a team and to think about the site and the project spatially. Especially for a project of this size and complexity, this is the program that will allow us to work effectively and collaboratively as a team.
So in closing, I think there's a really powerful story to be told here, and it starts with your leadership in prioritizing this project and what it's going to mean to this community. And then partnering with somebody who's local and has a long, rich history of designing within this context to create something that's really going to be, we think, pretty historic and hopefully a game changer in terms of sustainability. So we're excited to get started. As I told the selection committee, this is an opportunity for me personally to design my 6-year-old granddaughter's library. And I can tell you there's no better motivation than that to make sure it's successful for you and for our entire community. So we want to thank you for your time tonight, and we're certainly available for questions if you have any of us. Thank you.
So before I ask if there's any questions, just wanted to point out to council in your packet, in your memo it outlined after council authorization, we published a request for qualifications. It went through a very strict and by-the-books procurement process. 9 firms responded to the request, and 3 firms were interviewed on April 20 of this year. Shows the panel that helped review, so I wanted to thank Councilmember Hudson for serving on that as Mayor Pro Tem. And then they came out as a preferred candidate unanimously from that group. And so we're just excited to bring them forward to you tonight for consideration of contract. Are there any questions for Julie or any of her team? Well,
I'll start. I don't have any questions per se. I have a couple comments. I have said this all along that I believe that this project is an investment in us, not only in infrastructure, but for our community. It's going to create jobs, and the ripple effect for our businesses, it's just huge. And then you have the sustainable opportunity. Julie, when you started out, you said this is a pretty historic day, and as soon as you said that, I got chills. And how cool it is that you had Henry Klein starting, and now we're with HKP, and so you have the bookends. So I'm just really excited for this. Thank you for the presentation.
any other questions for HPP?
I'm just sorry she didn't bring all the team and have all the, that was a great presentation, so, yeah.
No, I really appreciate the presentation, and I'm excited about the project. It's something we've been talking about for a number of years. Actually, since I've been on council, we've been talking about moving forward with a library project, so it's exciting to be at this point. And I would like to make a motion that council authorize the mayor to enter into a professional service agreement with HKP Architects.
Okay, there's like 3 seconds. We'll give Gary the second. All right, so a motion by Mark and a second by Gary. Any other questions or discussion? All right.
Obviously, Julie and I have worked downtown Vernon for a long time, and, you know, the parking garage element is a huge issue for Mount Vernon. But I really appreciate your presentation and just how, I like the looks. I know that could change, but I like that open air thing. And I also like you're talking about risk management, especially when it comes to soils. And, you know, just kind of getting that stuff out of the way so we don't run into all those problems, you know, when the construction starts. So, yeah, thank you for your hard work on that.
All right. Then there's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Sorry, motion carries. Sorry, that was unexpected. But what we will do is we're going to have this, the SOQ, the Statement of Qualifications. I think it's on our website already and on our page, but if it's not, we'll go ahead and publish the Statement of Qualifications and the contract so that our public can really see what we're working on. And we'll be excited to share information as we reach those milestones. So thank you so much. All right, item B tonight is a closed record public hearing, a concurrency approval for grocery outlet. So I'm going to ask Rebecca Lowell from Development Services to come forward for this particular item.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. Let me pull up my PowerPoint here. And get to the right, right one here. Okay. So as the mayor stated, the item that I have before you this evening is a request for council approval of a resolution that was provided to you in your packets that would approve a traffic concurrency permit with conditions. The project site that this permit is for is identified as 525 East College Way. The improvements will be 22,000 square feet of an existing almost 90 square foot building. It is a multi-tenant building, and Grocery Outlet will be occupying just the south part of that building. This project, the reason it's before council this evening is because they are generating 77 new PM peak hour trips. And just as a side note, when we do that, we do factor in the existing trips. We don't count that towards the 77, so we net out. We'd look at what was their existing, and then we add in the new use. And because they generated over 75 PM peak hour trips, that's something these permits are required to come before council. Doesn't happen that often, but I think the last one that you saw was for the Skagit Station. The Visconsi development also had the same circumstances there. Just to get you oriented as to where this is, so I've got the portion of the building that'll be improved identified on the map here, with north being towards the top of the screen. You can see that both College Way and Urban form the boundaries of this site, and this is where the new Grocery Outlet store will be located. So the procedurally and just a general overview of the improvements that will be required. These types of permits are required to go through SEPA review for this. That was completed in late March. And then there was an open record hearing before the hearing examiner that occurred on March 12th. The hearing examiner recommended approval with conditions. Those conditions include on the College Way frontage, there's about 225 linear feet of sidewalk that will need to be improved, or maybe it's the street trees that were located there over the years have buckled that sidewalk badly. So all of that sidewalk, it might be able to be not completely removed and replaced, but most likely it probably will be. In addition, on Urban Avenue, there is a section of sidewalk that is non-existent, and because we're looking at this entire site, it's one great big parcel. That is another thing that our code requires, is that that sidewalk will be required to be installed, and that's on the near the northeast corner of the property. So what you probably think of as the back entry, or the entry where the trucks come in. There's a section of sidewalk that's missing, and then the project will need to improve a portion of the southern parking lot. If any of you have driven in there, well, it's been a while because it's been closed, but over the years, there's a section of that parking lot that it'll likely need to be oriented in the opposite way that it is now, just to make sure that we are alleviating any traffic conflicts. So that'll need to be done as well. So the staff findings that you'll see in the resolution before council is that the applicant has completed the procedural steps, and as conditioned, this permit does ensure code compliance, and as such, staff is recommending approval of the resolution before council this evening.
All right, any questions for Rebecca before we open the closed record public hearing? Okay. Seeing none, and we did actually allow comment on this item if you were allowed to make the comment as the closed record public hearing via Development Services Department. So did you receive any comments in the office?
So the only folks who could possibly comment would be the applicant, the property owner, and we did have one attorney that commented during the SEPA process, but I don't believe any of them are here this evening.
Okay.
But
And then there was none written that came in via, okay.
no, correct.
All right.
Nothing else.
Well, I'll go ahead and just open the closed record public hearing regarding concurrency approval for Grocery Outlet. Anyone wishing to speak? All right, seeing none, we'll close the closed record public hearing. Any questions again for Rebecca? This is a resolution. This would be resolution 994 if you choose to take action tonight.
Rebecca, I'm just curious about the entrance off of College Way. into this, especially if you're heading east on College Way, turning into, is that, I guess I'm just worried about the volume and because at certain times of day, we all know College Way is very congested. And so I'm just, how is that factored in?
So our traffic consultant they do model that, and they are able to model that because they do traffic counts. Not only when you see the strips that are across the roads, are they counting numbers of cars, but they also have physical people that will go out and they're looking at the way that people are traveling to see if they can identify issues like that. So I would love to say it's not going to be an issue because we all see people do things that they're clearly not supposed to do. But my hope would be that it was something that was modeled, it wasn't identified as an issue that we would need to take care of. But over the years, I have seen, we have other intersections in the city where we've had to take after-the-fact measures, like C curbing and those types of things. Right now, it's not warranted, but it could be in the future, perhaps, and there could be other things, too, that our engineering department would look at, or Public Works would.
Okay, thanks.
And through Riverside also, Rebecca, through Riverside also, you can get into there. Riverside and Urban Avenue and the others, I think, is 3 or 4 entrance from the parking lot.
Yes, correct. So you can enter that site from Riverside Drive, from Urban, and from College Way. But yes, your point is well taken. I see people do things.
Just visualizing.
That
To me,
makes me shake
like
my head.
going to urban fitness, and, it's not like it's a turn lane. It's kind of this it's like a point, and then other people are headed to College Way from the east. So you're kind of all coming in, you're ready to turn, they might be coming into it, get in those turn lanes. So it might just be a striping thing more than.
Could be, yeah, absolutely.
Other than that.
Okay, any other questions for Rebecca?
What's the resolution number?
994.
I would move for approval on resolution 994.
Second. Okay, motion by Mary and a second by Melissa. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Item C is the extension of, with the clean team, and this is with Parks Department, so Jennifer Brunner is here. Jennifer.
Good evening again, Council. So what we have before you is we would like to ask Council to extend the Clean Team contract, which cleans our restrooms in the parks. So due to our staffing levels, especially at the onset of the pandemic and through, all last year, we had the Clean Team coming in, and we had them cleaning our restrooms, so we're able to keep our restrooms open to the public in most of our locations, and assure that they were safe when people were entering our restrooms. Due to the low staffing levels that we had, it freed up our staff to be able to concentrate on park issues and tasks and not worry as much about cleaning the restrooms. Due to our current still low staffing levels, we're getting people up and going, but we still have low staffing levels. And we are coming into the height of our season of people out utilizing our parks again. We would like to be able to keep our focus on keeping our parks safe and keeping the parks in a state that people will want to come in and use them and know that they're safe, and keep our restrooms safe as well and clean. So this is to ask to extend that contract. The money would be coming from the CARES Act to be able to cover the extension of this, so it's not coming out of our general fund. It's money that we can have covered through the CARES Act. And the last budget cycle, it was paid for through the CARES Act as well. It didn't touch our actual general fund budget. So we're asking for this just through an extension through September. By then, we feel like we will be at our staffing levels. Things will have kind of ramped down a little bit in September out in the parks, that we should be in a good place to be able to take that task back on and do it in a good way.
All right. Questions for Jennifer on this? Gary, go ahead.
How many bathrooms do we have?
We have, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7. And they do it daily?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
and sometimes twice.
Twice, okay.
We have some restrooms that need a little more tender loving care than others.
Yeah. Well, I'd move to authorize the mayor to sign agreement to extend it.
Great, thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion by Gary and a second by Juan. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. We have a little bit of a technical presentation here. Kim Kleppe, our IT director, was not able to physically come to council, but he had an important item, so he is on speakerphone. Peter's going to help out. So item D tonight is a fiber license and operating agreement with Northwest Programming Incorporated. And Kim Kleppe on the phone is going to take it away. Kim, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm asking for your consideration on a fiber license operating agreement with Northwest Programming Inc., and which does business as MP Information Systems. They requested to become a licensed provider a month ago or so, and they already have customers from previous connections in the city that are kind of excited to come forward as a new provider. Their head base is out of Kent. They do have another office in Bellingham. So I'm asking for your consideration on a new license fiber internet service provider for the city of Mount Vernon.
All right. Thank you, Kim. Any questions for Kim before we ask you to take action? All right.
I would move for approval of Kim's request to add another licensed fiber optic agreement
Okay.
person.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Mary and a second by Mark to that. All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks, Kim, for joining us via phone. All right. Item E tonight is revisions to Chapter 8.12 of the Mount Vernon Municipal Code, Solid Waste Collection. And Esco Bell, our Public Works Director, is here. Esco.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Staff recommends approval of an ordinance amending revisions to Chapter 8.12 of the Mount Vernon Municipal Code that regulates solid waste collection within the city of Mount Vernon. City and Waste Management have been working for the past several months on an agreement for curbside recycle services for the city. Now that the agreement has been completed, the city needs to update its municipal code to reflect changes made by this new agreement. The revisions to the ordinance are summarized as follows. Rates and associated adjustments are changed and updated. Waste Management will be billing for its services instead of the city performing this function. The ordinance has been updated for this change. And then lastly, there's numerous minor adjustments and edits that have been made to modernize the ordinance. And then since this is, all the recycle effort culminating over a bunch of work, I wanted to just show you the timeline here. Council's well familiar with it, but the public, this work started back in October because we knew the contract with Waste Management was coming due in May, at the end of May. So we started that work in October, and in January we had a draft proposal for the council that was mainly the substantial increases to reflect the market, and which is not good for recyclables and also inflation. Then in February we had kicked the tires a little harder on that stuff and looked at the details and wanted to move forward. The council decided to move forward and needed to have a 45-day notice for that, so we got that going in February. And then more discussion about things about the regulations in recycle, and also we had to do a waste management, an extension of the existing contract and implemented the new rates. And then we had to do an ordinance to implement those rates. And then in April, we provided some more information and discussion about what we think about options maybe in the future, or something about in-house services provided for this waste management instead of waste management. And we looked at the low-income senior subsidy cost of 8 cents that the council decided to adopt. And then finally, at the end of April, the new waste management, the 7-year agreement was approved, and here I am tonight to propose adoption of the updated municipal code caused by the changes in the waste management contract, and also lots of other smaller changes to modernize that ordinance. And I request your approval of that.
All right. Any questions for Esco? I asked him to put together a timeline because it gets really confusing when you have contract, ordinance, resolutions, all these types of things. So that's why.
I would move the adoption of ordinance 3830.
All right.
I'll second.
Motion by Mark and a second by Juan. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mayor
Esco.
and Council.
Item F tonight is a franchise agreement with Skagit Net. Kevin Rogerson, our city attorney, is here. Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of City Council, before you was an ordinance. This isn't a new item, but you have seen it before. It's a franchise agreement that if adopted, we are asking you to adopt it through ordinance. Franchise agreements in municipal law are it's an esoteric term. It's not a franchise like you are commonly known for restaurant businesses, but it's just a formal agreement in which a utility wants to use your streets or public rights of ways to provide utilities to its customers. You have to enter into a franchise agreement. State law says that we cannot enter it at the time it's proposed, but you have to wait 5 days. So you've already had your first reading, so this is the time for action. So you are able now, by operation of law, to adopt this ordinance and enter into a franchise agreement with Skagit Net LLC, which is a limited liability company owned wholly by the Port of Skagit and Skagit County Public Utilities District. What they have requested that the city council grant is a non-exclusive limited franchise for the use of its streets and other rights-of-way to provide dark fiber optic backbone to its telecommunications network. The franchise area in this ordinance is very limited and limited to only those rights-of-way identified on the Exhibit A of the agreement, allowing the telecommunication facilities to be located in order to allow what they call a fiber optic trunk line consisting of fiber optic cables to connect to Skagit Net's co-location facilities so that it may provide telecommunications services outside the city of Mount Vernon. It's limited to excludes selling, licensing, and leasing or providing any lit or dark fiber services or connections inside the city. What they're trying to do is trying to get to the brain center that's on the railroad, which they're going to need to go through the city so they can provide fiber optic services in the rural areas of Skagit County. There are several exceptions, but those exceptions are limited to providing it internally to the public utility district and Skagit Net, or to provide connectivity to its fiber optic trunk line to third-party wholesalers in order to operate their co-location facilities themselves if they need to provide telecommunications services outside the city of Mount Vernon. The proposed term here is 7 years. The city, working through it, the city attorney's office and other related city departments have negotiated this new proposed franchise agreement with Skagit Net, and we recommend its adoption at this time.
All right. Any questions for Kevin about this? This would be ordinance 3831 if you would like to take action.
I move for approval of ordinance 3831.
Second.
Motion by Mary and a second by Gary. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Item G is the proposed ordinance for revision of our fireworks code. Again, our city attorney is here. Kevin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of City Council, before you is another ordinance. This ordinance, if adopted, would amend Chapter 8.24 of your Mount Vernon Municipal Code. That's the chapter where you regulate fireworks within the city. How this ordinance came about was an ad hoc committee of the City Council and several members of the community met 4 times since February 2021 to review your current regulations for fireworks in the city of Mount Vernon. The committee also conducted a community-wide survey and received feedback from over 800 Mount Vernon residents on the topic. The committee considered and deliberated over responses to inform their analysis and discussion, and finally to present the attached recommendations for changes to the city's fireworks regulations set before you today. The adoption of the proposed ordinance would essentially do 2 things. One, it revised the penalties for violations of your city's fireworks regulations, which are currently in place that are not otherwise violations of state law, from an escalating penalty, which you currently have for a $50 first offense, $100 second offense, $150 third offense, and $200 fourth and greater offense within a 3-year period, to a flat civil penalty amount of $355, which includes statutory assessments. The state always wants to add what the city provides in civil penalties, so that would be the complete amount. That's what somebody would see on their ticket, is a $355 fine. Fire department also asked the city amend its definitions, further clarifying which fireworks otherwise allowed by state law are not permitted within the city. Those changes are also included in this ordinance. In short summary, the changes recommended added a definition of Roman candles, which are not allowed, and further clarified the term motor-type firework, also prohibited in the city. Substantively, it doesn't change what you don't allow today. It just makes it easier for them to enforce and for me to prosecute because the definitions are more clear, providing notice to the public of what's in and what's out. So if adopted, the state would require that this law not take effect sooner than 1 year after its adoption. So if we adopted it this month, it could be in effect, not for this 4th of July, but July 4th, 2022.
All right, so I know there may be some questions or comments from council, but I wanted to thank the council members that sat on that fireworks committee. That was Councilmember Morales, Holst, and Councilmember Beaton. So thank you for your time committed to that. So any questions or comments from the council?
I'd just add that also serving on that committee were citizens, John Wollick and David Morano.
Moreno.
Sorry. But they did spend quite a bit of time and really gave some great input on this recommendation. So if there's no questions, I would move the adoption of ordinance 3832.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mark and a second by Melissa. Any other comment? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right. Item H tonight is the revisions to Chapter 9.12 of the Mount Vernon Municipal Code Criminal Possession Laws. And again, Kevin Rogerson, our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor, members of City Council. Last but not least is another ordinance that the city attorney has drafted, and this addresses what we all know as the Blake decision. And the Supreme Court recently found that the state statutes that criminalize possession of controlled substances, legend drugs, and counterfeit substances, which were felonies, constitutionally defective for lack of what is called a mens rea element. That means that you didn't have to know about it, and it was still a crime as written under the statute. He said that was a violation of the Constitution. This new law that was recently passed by Senate Bill 5476 and that's signed by the governor just on May 13th corrected that Blake decision by adding the mens rea element of having to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant knowingly possessed the counterfeit substance or the controlled substance or legend drug. But they did several other things. And one of the things they did, which is why I am here, is that they no longer made this a felony, but they made these violations misdemeanors. And in the state of Washington, cities have jurisdiction to prosecute misdemeanors that occur within the city limits. And we prosecute those through our city prosecutor in our municipal court, which is a department of the district court. But in 2012, there was a Supreme Court case called Auburn v. Gant that says you have to adopt such state laws in your local code before we have executive authority to prosecute such crimes. So what this simply does is adopt the state statutes, which are now misdemeanors, to allow the city police to issue tickets and citations, and for those to be prosecuted in your court.
Questions for Kevin on this particular item? Okay. If you'd like action, this would be ordinance 3833.
I'll make a motion, council adopt ordinance 3833.
Second.
Motion by Melissa and a second by Mark. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. So that concludes our regularly scheduled agenda items. Is there a need for an executive session this evening?
There is not.
All right. With that, then we'll take maybe a 5-minute break, and I believe Councilmember Hudson will reconvene the Finance and Parks and Enrichment Committee after that. So with that, then we'll be adjourned at 8:15.